You're listening to episode 194 of the Super League pod as the Super 8s get underway. We have a new voice joining the co-host team this week, and you'll find out which SLP hero gives Barry Mack a bowling beatdown. Also, we ask, who would anyone want from Widnes really? Let's get strapped in for your favourite Rugby League podcast, the Super League pod. Hello SLP family, welcome along to episode 194 of your favourite Rugby League podcast. I am your regular host, Wigan fan Mark. I'm joined this week by Hull FC fan Rich Langley. Langers, it's great to have you on board. How the hell are you doing?
I'm doing all right, Mark. Doing all right, thank you very much. A little bit nervous making my debut today, but hopefully do the club proud and keep the proud tradition of FC co-hosts, keeping the show running.
Well,
keep it going.
If you go off the rails, Sarah can bring it back next week. But it's great to have you on. You're certainly one of the people that I was hoping would put the name in the hat, as it were, when we went to co-host rotation. So it really is honestly great to have you on. For those people that don't know you so well, people will probably know you as Langers more than us Rich or us anything like that. But what's your Twitter handle for people who might not know you so well? And also tell us a bit about yourself, how you got into rugby league, how long you've been following the sport, and that sort of stuff.
I think you get me at Langers38. I can't remember. I think Langers 2.018 is the title that you can find me on at the moment. I've stopped changing that actually. The last couple of seasons I've been changing it to fit the Rugby League stories, but I've not done that for a while. As you said, obviously Hull FC fan. Been supporting them since the early 80s. I was just actually go check it. March 1982 was my first game at the Boulevard. Hull FC versus Whitehaven. FC won 35-0 on that day. Well, I was 9 years old. Got taken for a friend's birthday party and just kind of really enjoyed it. Had a couple of uncles who were kind of Hull fans as well, who were just a little bit older than me. So I got into the game kind of as well through them. Started going to the Boulevard a bit more regularly. Was a Threatley Stand season pass holder until the move over to the KC. Not being able to get to as many games with the move to the KC. I think I found once
you're not allowed to cross the main
of,
road. Is that the problem?
yeah. Going to that big stadium, it was a little bit scary. When you've had the friendly warmth of the Boulevard to kind of cushion you, it's the big KC was a bit scary. So I used to go with a big group of friends. More lately, I've been going with family. So one of the uncles who I used to go with, my mum and my sister. In fact, in the last kind of few years, my mum's become a really big fan. She's originally from Leeds. Moved over to Hull with her family when she was younger. Wasn't really big into the sport, but has really got into it in the last few years. So a shout out to my mum, who will hopefully be.
I met your mum, lovely lady.
Yeah. So she's a big fan. So I mean that's kind of a little bit of a whistle stop backstory for my Hull FC supporting.
No, that's great. I mean, it's a shame that you've fallen into the Hull FC curse of you only ever win at Wembley if you're going to be on the show as a Hull FC fan, it seems. But be that as it may, we'll power through the show and get your views on the Hull game and kind of where Hull season's at, I suppose, later on when we get into the match reviews. The Super 8s obviously got underway this weekend, and we have fan reviews from every game in the Super League Super 8 and the qualifiers. So that's going to make most of our show this week. We've got some news to cover too. Some high-profile retirement probably is the main news story there, because the SLP shorts in the week kind of covered off the other main news story, but we'll touch on that again here, some Wigan related stuff, and then we'll give our predictions. So it's your turn to. The gap is closing on me. I'm feeling the pressure, Langers. So you've got a chance to overtake me this week with the predictions. So we'll see how you go there. And then the quiz is back. You've you put your hand up to do the quiz very early on in the process of you agreeing to be co-host of this episode. I feel like you were getting ahead of the game there a little bit, but I'm going to let you test me and the listeners with your quiz. That's very exciting.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it's not too hard a quiz. So I'm pretty confident you'll do well on it. To be fair, but it's a little bit different. I've just gone for something a little bit different to the usual. Yeah.
Fair enough. That's great. Well, we've got all that to come. We're going to start with a little bit of feedback that's coming from long-time listener of the show, friend of the pod, David Pye, and see what your views are on this, Langers. He says, "Hi, I think the semi-finals were a success, being a double-header. Heard this idea before, but how about the quarter-finals also all in one place instead of the Magic weekend? I like Magic, but it's an extra game. This would solve that issue. The thing is, if we do that, could we then do the same thing with the semis or not?" So, first point there is the semi-finals were a success. I think everyone kind of feels that way about them. But this long-standing conversation that's been around for probably nearly as long as Magic Weekend has been around, that we play the Cup quarter-finals instead of Magic Weekend. How do you feel about that, Langers?
I personally think it's quite a good idea. I mean, I think we do suffer, and it's a long-standing issue, as you say. It's the attendance at cup games is always quite bad. I think if you did something like the Magic Weekend, you've got more chance to pull a few of the neutrals together. I mean, I like the Magic Weekend, but it's an extra game, and I just think it's the fans are maybe looking for something a little bit different now to follow, and the potential to move it from venue to venue. I think with the quarterfinals is an option that we could look at. I'd definitely back it if they decided to do it.
Do you think if we did that with the quarterfinals, it would lose a little bit of the emphasis on these double-header semi-finals? Will it cheapen that event if you're basically asking the same team's fans to go to both events almost? I know you're asking all the fans to go to Magic Weekend, but I think that's what makes it Magic. Would that be a flaw in that plan, do you think?
Potentially, but I mean, it depends how they kind of structure the fixtures. If there's quite a big gap between the quarters and the semis, like we have now, and I think with the semi-finals, I think if you hold them somewhere where it's easily accessible, I mean, for all the sides, well, Catalan notwithstanding, the travel wasn't an issue for them this time round. So I don't think that would be necessarily a bad thing. And I think you've got the chance to kind of as well keep the neutrals interested. People who went to that one day for the quarterfinals might think, oh, I'll go up and see the semi-finals as well. They might have kind of picked a team and want to follow those. So I would think it was worth a shout.
I mean, one thing I've always sort of had a reservation over on the quarterfinal Magic idea was possibly the fact that it meant more than just a regular season game. So could that cause more upset and tension and those sorts of things between the fans? But I didn't see any of that at the semi-final. Granted, I was sat in a neutral kind of seating area, so there was a bit of everyone, and I was out pretty quickly after the games, but I didn't see any of that in the time I was there. So I think that concern has faded away a little bit for me. I think with the way that the structure of the competition is likely to be, if it's going to be 12 teams playing each other home and away, and then you play half the league for a third time, that kind of means you've already got a strange balance to your or unbalance to your fixture list that the Magic Weekend can just simply become a part of, rather than being an extra game like it is now, like it was in the licensing period. So I don't think people were talking about it as an extra game really in the first 2 or 3 years of it, when it was part of the loop fixtures, which is what is likely to be coming back from everything we understand. So I just love Magic. I love everyone being at Magic Weekend and every team being there. I don't mind the idea of other events, but in fact, no, I love the idea of other events. I'm not sure myself on this quarterfinal one anymore. Even though 5 years ago I would have been like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Since then, I've become more fascinated with double headers and different way of double headers and where are the growth markets in the sport as well. And I would almost like quarterfinals to give the teams that are hosting the games a chance to expose the fans to some other parts of our game over the next couple of years whilst there's still growth areas. So Women's Rugby League, PDRL and LDRL, have those games as your double header on each occasion to sort of give something a bit more for the fans to see, make it a bit more of an occasion, but not travel it around. I don't know. I'm just that's sort of the way I would go to make the quarterfinals a bit more special. But there's options there. I think the more events, isn't it, is crucial.
Yeah, it is. I mean, would you think maybe if you did two double headers, so on a Saturday and a Sunday, do 2 quarterfinals each day, and maybe put a women's game on before them then?
Yeah, so I mean, there's ways of doing it, isn't there? Certainly. And that could be an option, like have the women's game sandwiched between the two, or something like that. Anything to kind of get more exposure to these growth markets in the game, while simultaneously making the prize product, which is the top tier of the men's game, more event driven, more of a spectacle, more enticing to the casual observers who might not go every week, because it almost feels like that's where our money has to be coming from at the moment. Because regular season ticket sales, I mean, look at how the clubs adapting to a membership-based approach rather than a season ticket-based approach, and everything's paid up for in advance, but you don't have to pay for a season ticket. You can pay for 4 home games or 8 home games, or you can kind of design your season package around yourself and still be part of like the membership system at the club, so you get advanced tickets or whatever. So that's the way the market's going. So anything that kind of fits into that flexibility, I don't know, it's scary at the same time as being interesting and exciting at the moment, I think.
Yeah, I mean, what would you think of maybe just taking the quarterfinals on the road? I mean, that the on the road concept that we had a few years ago, I kind of was a bit of a fan of. I like the idea of maybe just not going too far from the heartlands, just maybe. I mean, you've got Newcastle, maybe down to Leicester, kind of just far enough that fans would travel, your regular fans would travel, but you still get tapping into that new market.
I'd rather take league games on the road. I'd rather take a Super League game on the road, probably. I think, to me, watching your team in the Cup, and I know lots of people don't go anymore because it's an extra expense and all of those things, I just think it might be seen as an extra expense even more if you've got to travel any sort of distance, and even these places that we're talking about, you're still going to be travelling 90 minutes longer than you would have ordinarily, sort of thing. I think obviously the away fans would have to travel either or, but we need to bring back something special about the Cup for the core fans as much as for bringing other people in. I think that's why Magic Weekend's so great as it is, because it's a chance to sample so much as not necessarily a die-hard fan as well as for the die-hard fans. I don't know. I feel like something has to be given back to the diehards, and almost like have a free home game for your Cup games or something built into your season passes. I'd rather see that. I don't know. I'd rather see that. I feel like I don't watch enough of Wigan at home in Cup matches anyway, because we move them down the road to Lee and get half the crowd we could have got, even just 2 bus stops away or whatever it is. So it's kind of. There's so many options. Like I say, it's scary and exciting at the same time. I don't think that they're going to make a change like that for ahead of next year anyway. I think Magic Weekend will be in the calendar before anyone makes any decisions about changing things with the quarterfinals. But your point of moving that around, maybe double headers, there's options there that are good ones to think about. Right, okay. Before we move on to the news, I've just got a couple of other bits to mention, because today when I got home from work, the new issue of 4020 magazine had landed through my door. And this month, Steve Mascott does a section every month about podcasts, and this month's Nod to the Pod is all about the Super League pod. So I had a great chat with Steve at the semi-final doubleheader, and to be honest, I didn't really enjoy being on the other side of the microphone. I've never been interviewed as such before. I've been involved in discussion things on other podcasts and that sort of stuff, but it's more a conversation than an interview. So I didn't really, it wasn't my comfort zone necessarily.